Truth Serum segment tonight, the now very famous President Obama JV remark on the subject of terrorism. You may remember President giving an interview to the New Yorker magazine whereby he referred to ISIS and other terror groups as the junior varsity. Or did he?
Did the president underestimate ISIS when he referred to them in an interview only a couple months ago as a JV squad and making a reference to National Basketball Association teams like the Lakers?
So the president was not singling out ISIL. He was talking about the very different threat that is posed by a range of extremists around the globe.
All right, with us now to clarify, Fox News correspondents Molly Law and Eric Shawn. So what's the truth about the JV remark?
Of course he was talking about ISIS, Bill. I mean, you got to give Ernest the truth serum. It was clear in the interview, if you look at the actual transcript of the interview, that David Remnick, who was the editor-in-chief of The New Yorker, conducted the interview, January 7th. Right. He asked the president about the terrorist group that took over Fallujah 4 days before that, clearly talking about ISIS.
Did he mention ISIS, Remnick?
No, not by name, not by ISIS.
So he mentioned the terror group that took over Fallujah in Iraq, which was ISIS.
Yes.
Okay. And then the reply was?
The reply was that they just because every terrorist group is out there under an Islamic extremist philosophy does not necessarily mean it is a direct threat to the United States or it is something that we should wade into. So that, in a way, gives you a sense, some insight into the president's thinking, why he didn't do anything for
All right, and then he went on, President Obama did, to make the analogy to the junior varsity, JV, and say that these terrorists, not every terrorist is Kobe Bryant, making another basketball analogy, correct?
Yeah, he did. I mean, it's frankly, a pretty shallow, dismissive kind of remark. If you're comparing a rabid type of Islamic, jihadist, murderous, terrorist organization to basketball.
But obviously he wasn't taking it, the president wasn't taking ISIS very seriously back in January, right?
Well, that is clear from the interview, because he says it's something that we do not necessarily have to wade into.
Right. We don't have to worry about these guys even if they are causing trouble in Iraq. A lot of people cause trouble a lot of places. That's what I took out of the article. Now, the Washington Post gave him Pinocchios. They did this Washington Post thing on whether you're telling the truth. It's kind of like we ripped this off from the Washington Post Truth Serum. They do the Pinocchios. I'll admit it. But they said, the Washington Post said, that he wasn't telling the truth. The president wasn't telling the truth. Josh Earnest wasn't telling the truth.
Exactly. Which also should give hats off to Glenn Kessler, who's the reporter at the Washington Post.
And he gave him 4 Pinocchios?
4 Pinocchios, and they published...
And 5 is like the worst you can be.
You don't want to get 5.
No, but you don't want to get 4 either. You don't want to get any Pinocchios.
You don't want to go...
You have a nose like line, all right? You don't want to have, like, very small nose. All right, let's get to another thing that I saw on the internet. It was given to me by kind of a rabid right-winger. He said Nancy Pelosi's going to make $800,000 when she retires, that the taxpayer is going to be paying Nancy Pelosi $800,000. I said, well, I don't think that's true, and I'll bet you $800,000 it isn't true, and the guy ran away. But I thought it was interesting. Where did that come from, and what is the truth?
I wish you'd had a chance to take that bet. You'd have a lot of money right now, because it's absolutely false. Absolutely false. This email's been going around for a while, and other emails that are sort of similar to this.
Tell me where it goes. I mean, who does this email stuff? How does it get into the public?
It gets forwarded and forwarded and forwarded.
Just by people? Just by folks?
And so for anybody out there that gets this, and it could very well come to your inbox next, don't stop forwarding it. It's just not true. The facts, the email essentially says that Nancy Pelosi will earn, it's very specific, $700 a year for life, including free medical care. Not true, because, quite simply, congressmen, women earn their salaries while they are in office, not when they leave office.
Okay, but there's a pension for the Congress people, right? So what is Miss Pelosi's pension right now? She's been in Congress a long time.
Exactly. You have to be in Congress at least 5 years to be eligible for the pension.
And she's been in there since the War of 1812, as you know.
For 27
been there a long time.
years.
27 years.
27 years. She's 74 years old. Wow. So she has spent quite a bit of time
there.
So
how much is she going to get, Lauren?
Well, all right. There's an equation that goes into all of this.
Just tell me how much she's going to get.
Well, when we plugged her numbers in, the 27 years, it has to do with how long and how much you made in the years that you were making the most that you were, the first elected, and her highest salary. In other words, we plugged it in, $90,801 if she retires this year. If she keeps going and it goes up,
it could go up.
Right,
but right now, if Nancy Pelosi,
by about 2,000.
If Nancy Pelosi just said enough. All right, I'm going back to San Francisco, and I'm going to eat sourdough bread, and I don't want any more of this. She gets $90K. But if she stays around, she can get more.
It increases a little bit every year, roughly $2,000 per year.
There's a big difference between $800,000 and $90,000.
Yeah, true. And they don't get free medical care, although, as you know, the government does pick up most of the tab.
For medical care. For
right, absolutely, absolutely. They pay about 72% of the health insurance.
Now, I just want the audience to take a look. Keep the two-shot, please, Chet, on them. This is the truth serum deal right here. Do they not look like truthful people? I got the most honest-looking people. Sean is a little shaky, but lying. Look at that face. All right, when we come right back, Goldberg on how